Although one time, Prabhupada did call me in his room and he said, you know, we only have one book. We have Bhagavad Gita. That's it. And maybe there was an Nectar of Devotion, but he said, Krishna book has been finished now for some time, and I got news today that it's ready for publication. How can we publish? We need this book. He said, I want you to go and ask George for the money for this book. That's the birds. Okay. That fits right in with the story, don't cut it. So then I said, oh no, Prabhupada. I said, you know, the reason that we're this far with George and he's helped us so much to date is that I've never asked him for anything. I always wait until he offers. And he said, yes, he said, but we really need this. And I said, well, how much is it? $19,000. In those days, that was like saying $100,000. So I said, I don't really think it's a good idea, Prabhupada. And he said, yes, it is. You'll see, Krishna will help you. Watch this. So the next day, we had made arrangements to go look at marble. George had donated, or said he would donate a slab of marble for the, what was it? Yeah, a new slab of marble for the altar. Yeah, the Berry Place altar. Or maybe it was for Bhaktivedanta Manor. I don't remember. But it was a big slab of marble. And to help us select this marble, he had called on his friend David Wynne, who was the sculptor laureate of England, a very famous sculptor who designed the coinage and did those famous busts of Queen Elizabeth and of the Beatles too. That's how I knew him. So we went over to, we went with David Wynne to the marble yards and selected the marble. And afterwards we went to David Wynne's house for dinner. And all this time I was trying to screw up my courage because I had one mission that day. How am I going to ask George for this money? Here he is giving us this 3,000 or 4,000 pound slab of marble, and how can I ask him for something more on top of that today? So we got to the dinner and we were all finished with eating, and it was getting late at night. It was dark, and it was a long ways in Wimbledon, long ways from London. I still had to go, and so did George. You had to go all the way out to someplace, suburb. So finally I just did it. I said, George, I made Prabhupada the bad guy. So Srila Prabhupada asked me to ask you if you would donate money to print Krishna book. And I explained what Krishna book was. And his face just increasingly got grimmer and grimmer. And I could see this whole thing passing through his face of, oh man, they're just another one of these groups. Here it comes. He said, how much? And then on and on, and then the room went quiet for a moment. Well, he thought about it and looked at me, fixed me with this really belligerent stare. And suddenly, the lights went out. All the lights in the house went out, and wham! This bolt of lightning hit the house. It's a true story. The whole house shook. It hit the house. The sound and the light were simultaneous. And we sat in silence for some minutes after that, stunned. The lights came back on. I looked over at George, and he had this huge grin on his face. He said, well, how much is it then? And I told him, and he says, well, what can I do after that? You know? Then he came the next day and talked to Prabhupada about it. Prema dana, karuna prachu.